Now, the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana, Professor Prof Quartey, has advised government to update Ghanaians on its effort in cutting down expenditure in its mid-year budget review. According to him, this move will build investor confidence and attract more foreign direct investments into the economy. Meanwhile, Professor Quartey is pushing for more market interventions by the Bank of Ghana to sustain the city's recent good run. He has been speaking extensively with my colleague James Ishen.
Oh, certainly there is a positive recovery. If you look at our first quarter GDP growth compared to the same period last year, you realize it's slightly higher than the previous. So we see some recovery despite the debt exchange, despite the new tariffs, the increase in cost of doing business. There is some level of recovery, except that we expect more of the recovery to come from manufacturing or industry as a whole, and agric grew, but I think a higher growth from agric and industry will be good. We are spending our hard-earned forex in areas that are not really relevant. They are just outcompeting local industries and depleting our forex. There should be some intervention in one way or the other. So yes, regulation is key, and also price stability. Once inflation is under control, it certainly has a knock-on effect on the exchange rate and vice versa.
There's been a lot of conversation with respect to our debt restructuring. Are you optimistic Ghana could get a good debt restructuring from China and other partners, a similar one to that of what we've seen with the Zambia deal?
Well, the external creditors have committed to ensuring debt restructuring. They have agreed. If not, they wouldn't have signed to that memorandum. I think there's a framework memorandum that they have signed on to. So I certainly expect some decency, some decent amount of restructuring to happen. But it's not just about the restructuring. Going forward, what do we do so we don't return to a similar situation in the next decade or two or more, or never at all, that we return to such a painful exercise?
Prof, in few days, we'll be seeing basically the mid-year budget review. I want to know what are some of your expectations, which sectors or areas do you think government should this time focus on?
Well, revenue has been our major challenge. So with coming on stream of the IMF funds, with the coming on stream of the new taxes that have been introduced, I would want to see how much revenue each of the different tax components are yielding, and if there's the need to sustain or continue or make them better, we need the numbers to know whether those new taxes are doing well. If not, what is the way forward? How do we streamline them to ensure that tax collection is efficient? I've seen digitalization processes. We want to see to what extent it is yielding the needed revenue. Then on the expenditure side, we've seen a lot of talks about proposals about cutting down spending. The numbers should show. We want to see how much we have done, how well we have done in terms of cutting down the expenditure, so we ensure fiscal consolidation. Having said all of that, what are the other things that we are doing to stimulate growth within the economy? What other new things are we going to do to support the private sector, make sure they create the enabling environment to absorb the needed job? Because we've seen under the IMF program that there's going to be some kind of limitation on wage increases, limitation on employment within the public sector. The private sector certainly has to step in. So they need to be supported in order to reduce unemployment in the country.
Should we have a supplementary budget?
Certainly there should be a supplementary budget because the IMF funds have come in, new taxes have come in. So a review of what we have now and how we are going to allocate those resources is important.
There have been a lot of conversation with the IPPs going forward. A quick one on that particular one.
Yeah, the IPPs, of course, in the program, they said we're not going to accumulate payables in the IMF program. I think there should be conscious effort to stick to that proposal, and the IPPs should be paid as and when the payments arise, so that we can continue to have the power on. I think that statement that they are going to cut power is not good for business, it's not good for economy, it's not, I think those kinds of statements should not be made. Government should engage them and make sure they pay all accruals or whatever they owe them, so that we don't make such statement. It affects business confidence, it affects investor confidence.